welcome everybody to the channel. Thanks again for all the subscribers and new subscribers. Welcome on board. Today I'm going to talk about wheel building. I'm going to show you how I do it. It's not necessarily the way the professional wheel builders build, but that works for me. So I'll take you through the process of how I strip the wheel down, how I clean the spokes, what I look for, and then more importantly for those who want to try and rebuild their wheels, it's actually not that difficult at all. It takes some thinking, and the way I think about it, I'll share with you the way it works for me. So hopefully you guys can build your own wheels, and if you do, based on this video, please send me a note down below and tell me you were able to do it, and that will give me great impetus to share more of the ways I do things. So I'll see you on the other side. One of the ugly jobs, which I don't see a lot of real honest representation of, is how to take off motorcycle wheels, particularly motocross bike wheels, and more importantly, very stiff and brittle rubber, which is not as flexible on these homemade contraptions, which I must say, the first time I used it, I thought it was useless, but having seen some stuff online and then done about 6 of them now today alone, which is a record for me because it literally, on the 250 RM, if you've seen that series, has taken me literally part of half a day to get rid of these parts. So I'm going to share with you what I know, because I think it's just helpful when you're doing your own bike, where you've got honest information about how to strip these without any smoothing over of the difficulties. So let me take you through this process. Firstly, I think it's imperative that you get one of these little things. You can buy them secondhand, cheap. I think I paid £30 for it or something like that. I can't remember. Probably new, you pay no more than £50. And if you want to do your own wheels, then this is the way to go. You don't need anything more than this. This particular tire has its tubes out already. They were out, but we're going to be dealing with the same issues. If your tire is inflated, of course, de-inflate the tire and take out these little things. Now, some of you might not know what they are. If you think about the torque that comes from the chain on the wheel, and the motorcycle suddenly spins off like that, the tire's sitting on a rim and the tire wants to slip. So this grips the edges on the inside of the rim. It grips the edges of the tire bead and forces it against the rim. So for some of you who don't know what these are, that's just what they are. And you'll always be told by the rim itself just where and how many there go in each tire. So in the 125s, there's 1. On the 500, there's 2 or 3 on each wheel. So that's the kind of power that goes through the rear wheel. Front wheel, not so much, but the back wheel, definitely. So if you have better tools than this, great. But this is what I've got. I've got 2 tire levers. You really do need 2 tire levers. I found that this kind of spoon-like shape to it is quite useful for the one end, and I use it as well as this side. And then I've just got myself a hardy screwdriver, which I use to take off damaged tires. I don't use it for any other purpose. So here we are. We've got the tire in position. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to, if the tire is jammed to the rim, you position this in the right place and you break the bead free, okay? Press it down, and so you turn the tire around till you get this effect. That's quite important, okay? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put in this end, pop it in under the rim and open it. Now, because I've only got 2 of these, I'm going to use the screwdriver as a stopgap. So it's not going to do any damage, but I'm just going to press it in there. Get yourself a nice hammer, because you're going to need to use a bit of force. And there it is. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, not too far away from there, okay? Don't get greedy and sort of go there to try and get it off quickly. You will just make life difficult for yourself. You're going to creep it off. All right, now you notice it's raised. Now I'll go to this end, all right, and I press that in, and now I'm starting to get something happening. Now you keep that in position, because if this slips off, we'll be back to the starting point. So now I'm going to force this in again. Keep your hand on that. Press this in if you can, otherwise use a screwdriver or a hammer, sorry. And now you want to hold. This is the tricky part, right? Now you take your third one and you notice you can't get it in. It's too stiff. This is where you get the hammer and you bump this lever in. Goes in pretty easy, okay? Raise that up. Now we've broken the back. The rest should be quite easy. Now you might think that's the hard part done, but it isn't. This part's the easier part of getting a tire off. And off you go. Now we flip the wheel over to the other side. Right, now you want to get the tire off the rim. Now you'd think that would be easy because you've peeled off the outside, but it's actually not. It's a little trickier. So what you want to do is, you'll see on some of the YouTube videos quite erroneously that you just press down on this and the bead comes off. As you can see here, it bottoms out and it doesn't come off. So that's not very helpful. So I'm going to show you how I do it. First thing I do is get my trusty flathead screwdriver, or if you have three of these, even better. Three of these tie levers, even better. All right, get that in, get it down so that it can't slip back out again. Now we take this end, pop it in not too far away, slide it in, and press down as far as you can. And so this is absolutely useless, so we get that out of the way. Now we take the third, and not too far away, we keep working our way over the edge. Now at this point in time, you might be able to use your foot or your shoe to leverage that off. So let's have a go and see if we can do that. Put this one down first. There we go. Off it goes. Easy as that. Sometimes you'll get stiffer tires which will be harder to take off, so you just keep crawling your way, pressing down, stretching the rubber, pressing down till a point where it starts to get easier, and then just use your back of your heel, be very firm, give it a jerk. It can help if you want to spray some liquid on or something like that. So it really does work. So hopefully now we can get the rim off and we can start working on the rim and the spokes, etc. So these are the rims that I've got left. All the tires have been removed and these are in various states of disrepair. Some really bad spokes, some not so bad. One of the challenges you're going to find when working on these old rims is trying to get the spokes out. And you'll probably find if you don't do it right, you're going to damage them. Now, there is an argument for buying new spokes, that's fine, but in cases like this, it's sometimes very difficult to find them. So you don't want to cut them out thinking you'll replace them and then find you don't actually have access to any. So for those of you interested in saving spokes, let me show you what I do. This particular one is a horror because I've spent maybe over 2 hours taking 3/4 of them off in this way. So I've tried all sorts of different ways of doing it, and I think this is the best way to do it. It's least destructive. I've already lost 3 spokes and 1 nipple, so I don't think I've ever done a wheel so tough. Now, I did one on the 250 RM series, which you can go back and look at, which was pretty awful too, where the spokes were quite rusted, but the nipples did come off quicker than this. These spokes are quite nice. So I know for sure that this one is going to be tight, just like all the others. You can see, as I've taken tension off the other spokes, the actual spoke itself starts to rotate, and that's no good. And there's nowhere else to grip it. So what you need to do is you need one of these, right? And you need to use some excessive force clamping down. Now you're going to mark the spoke, but don't worry too much, because when you clean them off, you can tidy that up. All right. There's no other way of getting them out. So the first thing you want to do is really clamp it super tight. Okay. That's not even tight enough. Right. Now, you will see another thing that I've discovered was that this uses a size 6 spanner. Now, what I was doing, these were so tight and they were so stuck that with a single, even a spoke spanner will be similar width. You just strip the square shape of the nipple, so that's no good. So I came up with this brainwave of putting 2 together, so it widens the purchase area. Even that is not enough. Now look at that. Isn't that lucky? That's so typical. I'm about to have a drama with it, show you, and this one's come off. Isn't it funny how that happens when you're just about to show somebody how something works and it does that. All right, let's go to the next one. Right, there we go. We've got, even though we've clamped, this is still rotating. So you want to take a heat source, something like one of these, a matte plastic, pretty good, and you heat the nipple on the end. Forget about putting lubrication on, that's just going to burn off. You really want to expand the nipple so that it can come off, you have a chance of coming off. I've had 2 of these explode on me today, which is like a piano wire, very loud, quite scary. So, and then you heat this side. You can heat a bit of the rim and the nipple, but try not to heat the spoke, because you want the nipple and the rim to expand. And hopefully you'll see it will be a little bit more compliant, but yet it won't be a 3D. Trust me, it's still going to be really tough. These spokes are on for good. They really are. All right, let's see what we've got. There we go. They seem to be coming off more easily than some of the others. I think what I'm going to do is keep the camera rolling, because that seems to bring me good luck. So that's really how you do it, folks. If that nipple is super tight, you really just got to try and break it free, try and get it to move on its own without even rotating under the vice grip, and then move it back, forth, and try and loosen it up. And if you can get it off, great, you've got a spare. All right, we're at the stage now where I have removed these awful spokes. The next question is, how do I clean them? Like you'll see at the end. And there's no trickery. I certainly haven't bought any new ones. There's several ways you can clean these. If you're lucky like me, you have a media blaster. You can clean them with stuff which works particularly well, called silica. It's like a fine, very fine sand, and it doesn't pit too much. It doesn't spark erode the surface. It's too fine, but it does give it a nice clean, and it's very quick. And that gives you a basis then to polish on a buffing wheel. So if you just try to buff these, right, you would see they're just too far gone. I mean, I'm still not 100% sure what these are. I was under the impression that this was stainless steel. The stainless steel doesn't rust, so this might be, I can't imagine this is mild steel because it's just too stiff. It might be hardened mild steel, I don't know. But anyway, the net result is you have to clean this off. You cannot buff this. This will just stay dirty. It'll stay stained. So you need to sand it off. You can use sandpaper if you want, and then buff it afterwards, and you get it really nicely finished like this. Let's take these now, let's get them cleaned, let's get them polished, and then we'll put them on the rim. After they've been cleaned, so they're looking new again, which is great. The threads have been cleaned as well. They also go through the cleaning process so they're nice and smooth. To set this up, you want to line up all the nipples to within the same sort of size. You can see these ones I've done. Just get them not all the way through the screw thread, and then once that's all the same, then you start tightening up a little bit more, and then you will get the dishing correct. The dishing is the distance between that side and this side. I'm just going to close up that last bit of thread. You don't be tempted to tighten it, because then you're going to be out of sync. So just get them all there. See, this one's already tightish. So these are the reference points you need to bring everything to the same position so that the hub sits in the middle. The next stage is to look at the depth of each nipple. Because once you've gone past the thread, you don't know how deep you're going. And then the next phase is I'm going to start bringing this in so that the spoke will sit pretty much flush with the bottom of the slot. You can see the spoke is now right up to the base of the slot. This one I have to tighten up to bring to the same position. So that one is now up. So you can, as I tightened this up to this point, I kept going to pretty much get them all up to that edge. Now as I went round, I found that I couldn't tighten anymore, and I ended up about here. You can see these are deeper. So that's the end of the tightening phase, and this was the beginning. I beg your pardon, this was the beginning. You can see how much further back this is and how much deeper it is. So now I'm going to take off about half a wind on each, and then I should be able to tighten these up to bring them more in line. Then I know I'm pretty center. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the next phase is to check where we are as far as it's concerned. I haven't spun this up yet, so this is going to be my first look. Now this is a homemade jobby because it works just as well. I've got two pens marking the position. One is for the side movement, the true, and the other one is for the centralization of the hub. So we can true this because each wheel rim has a certain amount of buckle after manufacture. It's just the way it is, and they expect that the spokes will true up any distortions that are there within reason. So let's have a look and see what we've got. So you can see how much movement there is to the left and the right. Let's have a look at the up and down. There's a good view. So a little bit of movement there, about 2 millimeters. So we're going to work our way around, just looking for any problems. What I tend to do is I tend to try and true this one first, and then we'll deal with this, okay? And the first thing to do is, you notice I've now added some masking tape. The first thing we want to do is we want to try and, we want to mark up where it is distorting out. Can you see that? So we want to get in the middle. Find the most distorted roughly again. So I would say it's about there. And then I stick some tape on that. Now the reason you do that is because when you make changes, you want to see what you've done. You want to see the difference at that point. So the first thing we're going to do is, if we want this to come back to the pen, then what we have to do is we have to pull these spokes tighter, which then brings this, and then loosen these spokes off to accommodate. But you'll loosen these off a little later, because remember there's no tension on these yet, so there's still, everything's still flex, so it'll make sense when you do it yourself. But let's start now. So I'm going to go about a full turn. This one we want to leave. This one we want to do less than a full turn. A little less than a full turn. Oh, you see that was very, very loose. So this is where we start to just use our instincts as you get used to. So now, again, we're going to mark this. We're going to move it back. So we've got all this side to do. There's a lot to do. So this is all so loose. So we're just going to tighten this up. Just give it a general tightening. General tightening as in you can feel which ones are loose, which ones are not. Overly loose. Those that are tight, leave them alone. But we know that we've got a distortion on the side. You can see it's starting to reduce. So we'll tighten up a bit more. Little quarter turns maximum per go. And so you go. You can see how that's starting to come good now. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going and then I'll video whatever I see I need to show you. But in the meantime, it's literally just adjusting. And strangely enough, while you're doing that adjustment, you're actually tightening up all the spokes. And then those that are super loose, you're going to feel them and then you're going to tighten them. You can see that's already so good. And that is where it was very distorted. Now you can see I've marked tape on this side because just like this side is distorted, this side is distorted too at this particular point. So I've tightened these up. Now here's the thing. Now you go around the wheel and you make sure that they all feel the same tension, right? So you tighten them. When I say tension, I mean in this. You can feel that some are loose and some are super tight. Leave the super tight ones alone. Just tighten up the ones that are not at all tight and try and get them even. Then we're going to spin it again and then you're going to see more distortion, right? At least then we've got the tensions up of the spokes to about where they should be. And now we're going to loosen some off, tighten some up, and then we're going to readjust. So now I'm going to go around and tighten and make sure everything is pretty much the same. And then we'll see where we are. Bearing in mind, of course, I've already pretty much got this true. I'm already in a position where my reference point is very good. Okay, so now we're going to go and tighten everything up so we get even tension throughout the spokes. My general common sense. Okay, so we're back at the marker again. So that means I've gone all the way around. So let's see how true everything is and how much it's gone out now. As you can see now, we've got this flat spot here. Okay. So we want to take some tension off that. Take some tension off. Let's see what we've got. It's looking good. a little bit of movement. So now we'll tighten this side up just a little bit. Maybe just 2 because it's such a small area. It's really starting to look good now. Remember, that's pulling this way, so we've got to tighten the opposite side. That's super tight. Okay. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to tighten this up a little more. More tension on that. There you go. Now we're going to work on this. Right, now what we're going to look for is any up and down movement. Now you can see how wheels work, right? You can see that movement there. It's quite a lot to adjust out. So what I'm going to do is then tape up which side is up and which side is down with my tape. So let's get it to the highest point and the lowest point. There. That feels down quite a bit. Let's check and see. Down, down. Pretty much there. Maybe a little bit over. And let's check the top. And that is, as I said, directly opposite, which you'll see here, is there. So the side we want to loosen off. I'm going to start about there. And then we're going to tighten this side up. Don't worry about this truing. We're just going to focus on getting the hub centered. See, that's already better. So now, without loosening the other side, I'm going to tighten up. I'm going to keep tightening. Is there. I'm going to move the tape to where else I'm seeing distortions. I'm going to automatically put this on the opposite side. You can see it's a lot improved. There's a bit of a manufacturer buckle in this wheels. They're motocross wheels, so they're not meant to be exactly perfect. Now I'm going to tighten up all of these. All of them, again, looking for even tension in all the nipples. And then we're going to go again and we're going to look at this side movement. And that's done. Well done. So I'm just going to check, remember, it's anti-clockwise. So now we're going to check how much side movement we've got. Very good indeed. Very little to do. Just here. So we'll give that a little tweak. I'm more than satisfied with that. As you can see, there's a tiny bit of movement there, but that is acceptable. One last check. You want to just check that you haven't left any of the nipples out of tensioning, or maybe one is over tensioned. And generally, they sound fairly even, which they should be if you've checked properly. So let's check the other side. Well, that's it, guys. That is as simple as that. I mean, just watch the video slowly. Hopefully I've made sense, but it isn't that difficult. And I think you can do it if you try. Don't over tension anything, just follow along and you should be able to understand, and you start to see how it starts to react to when you adjust each nipple. It's very slow, it's very gradual, it's not complicated. First of all, it'll save you a bucket of money. 2, you learn a new skill. 3, you save a wheel. And that really appeals to me. So I'm glad you came along and you stayed the course. Please subscribe. Remember, if you've got any comments, put them below. And anything that you want me to help with or to explain, put them down there and I'll see if I can help you. Okay?